Got it. I would like to welcome everybody to our Zoom meeting. Martha Jackson has been kind enough to facilitate it. Bless her heart, and I appreciate it a lot. She's going to give us some basic instructions. And before she does, I'm just going to mention that Jerry Mellon will not be here today. She's very sick with a bad cold. And run the meeting with Martha's help. Not that she's going to help me with the minutes, but the running of the meeting. We will need to have you say your name or make sure we see who's saying anything if you have comments to make. There's only a couple of places on the agenda for action where I need the motion and the second. There are other things will be items that maybe you want to bring up in the agenda, on the agenda. So with that, I'd like Martha to give her a few words and then we'll start. We'll continue actually.
Thank you, Diane. Yes, I think we're all probably experts on Zoom by now, but as you know, good Zoom etiquette means to be muted all the time unless you are speaking. That takes away from the possibility of phone calls, cats crying, knocks on the door, etc. So if everyone could please mute themselves. And then when it's time to make our president reports, or when Diane asks for an action or a comment, then you would unmute yourself. And as Diane said, please identify yourself when you unmute yourself, because since we're missing our secretary, it'll be hard to keep track of who's talking sometimes. So I think that's all. There is the chat button if people want to make comments in chat or write notes to each other. Usually it's at the bottom of your screen. As Helga pointed out, sometimes it's under the little icon that says more, and that will be a chat where you can write messages if you have any information you need to share. But that's all I have, just Zoom etiquette, and nice to see everybody. And we are recording it, but we won't keep the recording. It's just for minutes.
Right,
So,
correct.
okay, thanks, Diane.
Thank you, Martha. We will do the roll call now, and I will call the Garden Club. And please tell me how many members are present from your club. The Alameda Garden Club. Anybody? Okay. Berkeley Garden Club.
Hi, I'm Carol Buckles, and I'm stepping in for our president, Mindy Lassman, today. And if I'm not mistaken, I think we have 4 members of the Berkeley Garden Club here today.
Thank you. Garden Club. Eden Garden Club. Did I? Oh. Any Eden Garden Club people at this time? El Cerrito Garden Club.
El Cerrito, I'm Martha Jackson, and there are 3 members of the El Cerrito Club here today.
Good, thank you, welcome. Fremont Garden Club. Friends of Heirloom Flowers Garden Club. Hillside Pollinators of Montclair. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm deadheading roses out in the California Nursery Park in Niles today. So this is Angie Schmidt, and I think it's only me on today. I don't see any of our other members.
From Friends of Heirloom.
Friends of Heirloom, yes.
Oh, well, welcome. Glad you're here.
Okay, thank you.
Good luck on your deadheading.
Yep.
Next would be Hillside Gardeners of Montclair.
Hi, I'm Sandy Yeager. I am the current president, and counting you, Diane, I think there are 4 of us. here
Oh,
today.
that's okay, very good. I like to be counted. Thank you. Ho and Hope has a meeting conflict. They meet the same day as we do, and I got received an email that they would not be with us on the Zoom meeting. Pinole Garden Club.
Hi, I'm Sheila Moore, and hi, and I believe Emmy is here today also with us.
Yes,
So that would be two that I'm aware of.
thank you.
I'm
You're
here.
Oh,
Oh.
hi, this is Sally, our VP. Hi, Sally.
Okay, hi,
I
Sam.
saw you.
Okay. Okay, nice to see you. San Leandro Garden Club.
I'm here from San Leandro and I'm the only one.
Okay, hi Carla.
Hi.
Helga representing the Begonia Society, San Francisco Begonia Society.
I'm here. And there's just me.
Okay, I'm glad you're there, here. Suzuki Society. Okay. Thank you very much. If we have others coming in, we'll go back and double check to see if we have additional garden clubs present. Next item on the agenda are the minutes from the September 23rd, 2021 meeting. They were sent out after that meeting and I sent them out again recently. Voice. It's not because I have anything, it's just I have a froggy voice. So sorry about that. On page 3, which aren't numbered, but it's the third page in on the top, we have a misspelling. If you have your minutes, it would be the word shoddy is how we say the word, the name, but it's spelled wrong. So I'm going to correct it in our minutes that go to that go in the records, and it's spelled S-H-A-D-I. That's a person's name, and it's pronounced shoddy. So if you make that correction, we will take a motion.
Diane,
Yes. Oh,
there was one other thing. Fremont was spelled correctly once, and then the next time I saw it, it was spelled Freemont. It was, I think it was under Fremont Garden Club or whatever. So that needs to, that's just a spelling correction.
yes, I see the Fremont Garden Club on the top of that same page. So I will
Somewhere it jumped out at me that it was misspelled.
misspelled. Okay, I'll make a note of it. And so there's 2 corrections. Fremont Garden Club to be spelled correctly, and shoddy, S-H-A-D-I. Are there any other corrections on the minutes? I should have asked this after we did the motion, but is there a motion to accept the minutes of the September 23rd? No, yeah, 23rd meeting.
This is George Perko. I move that we accept the minutes as corrected.
Correct. Thank you. Is there a second?
I second.
And that is
Helga, seconds.
Helga seconds, or were there 2? Helga seconds? It? Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Say aye. Or raise
Yes.
your-
I
Aye.
Aye.
I think everybody is in agreement. Shake, okay. Unanimous? Thank you. The treasurer's report, Carla, our treasurer, will present that, please. I froze. Did you hear me, Carla? Okay. Carla.
I needed to unmute. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. There we go. I'm sharing screen. This is the financial account that we've done in the past since September. And if you look at the 1/29/2022, so when I did the accounts, that number matched the March 30th or 31st, whatever it is, statement, except for $15, which as near as I can tell, last time when we did the account adjustment, I had some sort of brain freeze or something, and I was $15 off. So I've added that down later. And then after the 422 checks I wrote recently, and they have not, I haven't got the April, well, no one's cashed them yet. So we're doing okay. Our closing checking account as of April 28th, that's today, is 1185.69. And then if we look at the next sheet, you can see I have taken out the money for the scholarship awards, and our total funds have gone down commensurate with that, but we're doing okay.
Okay,
I'm hopeful I didn't do any more brain fog things, so next month should be perfect. I mean, 6 months from now, hopefully it'll be perfect.
thank you, Carla.
Excuse me, this is George Perko. I think there's some kind of a typo because the investment CD is 1 year, matures 2/28/23. This is listed as 20,000, 49.15. Was that like at the beginning of the year before you took out the money?
Yes,
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that.
yeah.
Are you on the second page, George?
The
He's on
balance
sheet
sheet.
2, yeah.
Yeah, the balance sheet.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, so the CD balance is currently the 18,054.42.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions to Carla? If not, is there a motion to approve, to accept the treasurer's report?
I approve the treasurer's report. I'll make a motion that we approve it.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'm Patricia St. John. I second it.
Patricia St. John? All those in favor, say aye, or raise your hand, or somehow, I don't know exactly. Well,
Aye.
aye. Anybody opposed? Carla, for putting that together and getting it to us.
Okay,
Okay, good job. Didn't have any, but I thought I would check with you folks.
did
Okay, pardon?
Did I miss some of that question? I only heard,
Because I froze on this end. Was
Okay.
is there any old business? I didn't have any, but I thought I'd put it down in case I missed something. In that case, we will move on to new business and scholarship awards. We have a wonderful helper, as you all are, but Patricia St. John, our Bay Bridges District Scholarship Chair, has some scholarship awards, and I'm going to turn the meeting to her. Patricia, please go ahead.
Thank you, Diane. And we have one of the scholarship award winners today. As you noticed, hi, Thibaut. I'm so glad you're here. You're the only man
Hello.
here today.
Thank you.
It's great that you're here.
Hi, Thibaut.
Let let me introduce Thibaut and award him his money, and then we're going to ask him to say a few words. And then after he does, I'll tell you about the second recipient. As you noticed in the treasurer's report, each of two very worthy Merit College horticulture students is receiving $1,100, thanks to the bequest from the Bonita Garden Club and the donation from the Friends of Heirloom Flowers. So what the process is we contact Merit College and ask the heads of the department to recommend two very worthy students to receive scholarships. And Thibaut was one, and he was actually recommended by Laura Forlan, who is the department co-chair. And Thibaut, this is what she wrote. I've had a Thibaut, now Monnier or Monnier?
Yeah, Money is correct.
Okay, in several classes, each of which he has excelled. He is making his way through our urban arboriculture program and is also working with Molly, who is our grounds person. We have 5 acres. The horticulture department at Merit College has 5 acres, so that is a lot to maintain and keep up. And he's coming to us with a career change. So Thibaut, why don't you take it from here?
Sure. Thank you, Patricia. So my name is Thibaut. I'm a student at Merit College. Can everyone hear me well? I don't know if my connection is good. Okay. Yes. So it's my second semester at Merit College in the arboriculture program, trying to achieve the tree healthcare specialist. So it's a complete career change for me. It's very new for me, and I love it, every minute of it. I'm also I work for a tree company. I'm a tree climber, tree trimmer. So again, it's something that I started a few months ago, and working in the Bay Area with trees and plants every day, it's absolutely amazing for me. And also I work, like Patricia mentioned, with Molly on the campus at Merit College in the arboriculture department, which is basically trimming, removing, and taking care of the grounds, helping. It's an amazing job. It's a break from the physical work I do as a tree trimmer. So I'm surrounded every day by plants, green trees in the Bay Area, and it's fantastic. And I received the news from Molly about the scholarship, and I really wanted to thank you all for this opportunity, and thanks the professor, Laura and Lawrence, that recommended me. That really came to me as a surprise, and I really feel honored that my work and dedication is being recognized. Like I said, it's really new to me, so I'm kind of going into like an unknown ground of starting this new career. There's so much to learn too. It's a lot of work every day. So this scholarship really pushes me to actually work even harder and pursue this fascinating career. This is, like I said, the beginning of a beautiful journey, and having support from all of you really touched me, and I wanted to really thank you again for that.
Thank you so much, Thibaut. And it's just wonderful that you were able to join us this morning. It's inspiring to hear you. So thank you very, very much.
It's a big pleasure. Thank you.
I hope to meet you on campus someday.
Hopefully, yeah, definitely. I would love to meet you all, wherever you are in all the cities, definitely. I'm around, so anytime. If I'm going to the ISA conference next week, if any of you is over there, I would be pleased to meet you.
Great, thank you. And you're all invited to anytime to the Merit College campus, the horticulture department. It's just wonderful, and the greenhouses are just very productive. And finally, the labs can meet their classrooms can't meet there in person yet, but the labs are there. So we're fully using that facility. So let me introduce you, even though he couldn't make it, to Alejandro Gomez. I'll tell you about him. He was referred by Lawrence Lee, who's a professor at Merritt College. And actually, when he became a full-time professor, actually took on the classes that I was teaching there. What Lawrence says about Alejandro is that he's a new student from Columbia who left a corporate job to come to America to follow his heart in working with plants in sustainable horticulture. He has been doing volunteer work in the department with Molly also, and also at the gardens at Lake Merritt. He is really keen on learning as much as he can and is grateful for the opportunity to come to the United States and find a new life in plants. And that actually reflects a lot of my experience as an instructor at Merritt College. I would say at least half, maybe even more, of the students in my classes were switching careers and finding that going into horticulture, working with plants and trees and living matter was much more to their liking than working in an office or, whatever career they had had before. So I asked Alejandro to write up a few words that if he were here in person, he would share, and I'd like to read those. He said, "I am very grateful for being selected to receive this Bay Bridges Garden Club scholarship. This feels like a reward for my efforts in pursuing my dreams. In my case, exploring nature, enjoying the beauty of the plants, and looking for their conservancy. This scholarship supports my studies in the horticulture department at Merritt College and encourages me to keep making the most from this academic path and from more learning ways that I have discovered in the Bay Area. If there is some way to support the Bay Bridges Garden Clubs, I would be pleased to help." So that's Alejandro. And congratulations to all of Bay Bridges for supporting this amazing contribution to horticulture and the very worthy students at Merritt College.
Thank you, Patricia.
You're welcome.
Would you send me your written comments so that I can add them to the minutes? I would appreciate
Absolutely.
that.
Yes,
And
I'm sure
I do have 2 checks, one for each of the folks. And we've got to figure out a way to get it to them, get them their checks. So if you'd be thinking about it, we can talk about it later. But I have them here. Thanks to Carla's diligence sending them to me. We send them by special delivery so we wouldn't lose them in the mail forever. And they're sitting on my table. So, just so that you are aware of that. And thank you again for being our chair for scholarships. Thank you.
You're welcome. My a privilege. Thank you.
Thank you. We have our next item on the agenda is our Bay Bridges District Awards that we give out each year. We had 2 applications, 2 awards to give, and they're from Hillside Gardeners of Montclair. I'm going to read, I made a summary of what was written up very beautifully by 2 members of our club. And I'm going to read them one at a time and show you, if I can, the certificate, but at least I have them here in the award and the booklet in my hand. So Ronnie Braga, you're here. I saw you earlier.
Yes.
There you are. Okay. Ronnie Braga is being awarded the Gardener of the Year Award from Bay Bridges. Ronnie has been a highly contributing member of the Hillside Gardeners of Montclair since 2002. Her garden has been featured on 2 of our biennial garden tours. She has also presented several programs for the club and has been on the scene with technical expertise, managing other speakers' visual files almost as long as she has been a member of the club. Ronnie's garden is a model of environmental responsibility. She is a beekeeper, among other things, so she does whatever she can to provide opportunities for bees and other pollinators, as well as people in her garden. She uses no chemicals, encourages native plants in parts of the garden, and primarily cultivates water-wise adapted, climate-adapted plants. Her property, about 2/3 of an acre on a sloped west-facing hillside, is located in that sensitive area we identify as the urban wildland interface, and her garden design reflects all we have learned about mitigating fire danger in such situations. And on a personal note, Ronnie Braga helped me for many years when we used to do slideshows with slides, and I would meet with her, and she was always so gracious, never a problem. She always had it figured out, and we would present the slideshow and people really enjoyed it. So a personal thank you, Ronnie, to you for your graciousness. Thank you. And I don't know if you can see this. Where's my face? I'll see if it comes through. Well, sort of. Well, not really. Anyway, there's a certificate, Ronnie, that I prepared for you. And it's inside this booklet, which shows what was written by Nancy Swearingen. And I'm hoping to talk to Sandy about doing a presentation at our next Hillside Gardeners meeting, because I think people should see this before we give it to you. So, so thank you for your hard work, and we appreciate you very, very much.
Well, I just have to say thank you so much for this recognition. You know, I have you to thank, and Sandy and Nancy Swearingen for facilitating all of this. And thanks to the board of Hillside Gardeners for nominating me. And I'm just really tickled, and thank you so much. This means a lot.
You're welcome. And your honey is wonderful. I bought 2 jars actually. And very, very nice.
Good. Well, it's funny. I brought a case to the meeting the other day, and it sold out in 10 seconds. And I was able to throw $25 into penny pines. So
very good.
Yeah. So I'm happy about that.
Well, and there's a lot of work that's behind the scenes, not only in keeping the bees, but in preparing the honey for people. I didn't realize, and you mentioned a couple of things. I thought that's a lot of work. So I really, really appreciate it now. Thank you.
Good. Thanks.
Good. I'll see you later. Okay. Now, the second award from Hillside Gardeners is to Liz Hook, who is presently flying to her family, and I forgot where, but it's back east. She wasn't sure she could get on Zoom, but she wanted to let me know that how much she appreciated it. And she wrote the write-up for her, and I made a summary of it, which I'm going to read at this time. She says her first experience with plants and gardens was as a very small child when my parents started a victory garden during World War II. I loved planting and watching the seeds grow. As an adult, I had 3 nice gardens in Piedmont and Oakland. And as a widow, I moved to a high-rise apartment at the south end, 25 floors up. I loved, I lost my place, with a deck 52 feet by 7 feet facing the hills and East Oakland, and the smaller deck, 25 feet, 6 inches by 3 feet, faces Alameda, the bay, and 2 bridges. The big deck gets morning sun, and the small deck gets afternoon sun and amazing sunsets. I brought some potted plants from my Oakland garden and found that succulents were happiest here. Since I wanted some color, a friend gave me cuttings of a red geranium that seems to thrive through 45-mile-an-hour winds. The small deck has only 2 big pots of geraniums as it gets the most severe weather. I take cuttings and succulent babies, potting them to share at the garden club. Plus, I have a plant hospital of plants that I find needing care. My son and I enjoy morning coffee on a comfortable bench with our ancient Siamese cat watching the gulls and pelicans fly by at eye level. I got a kick out of that last comment. And she has a certificate, and each was receiving a check from Bay Bridges District for them to spend for themselves. And I thank them both for their service to the garden clubs, to the service to Okay, now I'm going to go back here. Now, so our next item on the agenda is Barbara Post, who's going to give us a presentation. Barbara, you're on.
Well, we kept it open because I just have so many wonderful plants that I'd like to talk about and show you. But the first one that I have, that Martha has also mentioned, I gave plants to the Garden Club sale for verbascum, and it's called Southern Charm. And I don't have any left to show you, except maybe this leaf. They grow in a nice rosette, and they're large, and they're grayish and soft and woolly, and they come up wherever they want, whenever they want. They come out easily if you don't want them. And, they're a biennial. Let's see what else I have here. They suggest that you can cut back the spike that rises out on the second year biennial. So it makes beautiful yellow flowers.
Oh, yes. Oh, my. Thank you. Yes, we can see that.
Each stalk, you can keep removing them if you wanted to grow more, but each stalk is loaded with seeds. They will go wherever they want. I'm happy to have them because they're tough. And I have terrible soil here and not much watering. So I'm very happy with that plant and I recommend it to you. But then I also have a plant that I just bought at Raley's on the one day that I got out of the house. And this is an ornithogalum. I think that's how you say it. And it's a genus of plants that belongs to the family Hyacinthia. You can figure out the spelling and the pronunciation, but it relates more to the hyacinth. And it has many species. It's practically unknown in cultivation except by the more charismatic yellow and orange species. So this is the orange, and I think it was called Orange Star. And it came in a very nice pot, a little bit different.
Wow. Ooh, pretty.
Isn't that nice?
Oh, yes.
I buy it. And, it's an annual.
They come from South Africa.
Yes. Who said that?
Helga.
Okay, yes. They are tender spring, summer, autumn growers from hot subtropical to tropical Africa. They are mostly late spring and summer bloomers. Most demand intense sunlight and frost-free to hot conditions, which I have here. They require a dry summer dormancy, so I think they're just in time. Change the taxonomy, and you can find all of this on Google if you want to know more of these details, but it's a very interesting plant. And the fresh seeds are very easy to germinate. They have a short viability time, about 6 months to a year. Seeds such as this one, which is dubium, D-U-B-I-U-M is what this one is, are tiny and dust-like. In such cases, they should be sown in a well-drained mix of 1-1 organic, inorganic mix. So that's a little bit about the culture of it. Let's see if I have a little more. It's also known as Wonder Flower and Star of Bethlehem. You might have heard of that one. Or Chinchurri, I can't say it. Chinchurri. I'm sure that's not right. It's the botanical name for a Greek phrase that means bird's milk, meaning something amazing. Suited to most growing zones, naturalizer where happy. And last I want to talk about, my garden is amazing this year. But behind me, I think you can see, I have one of my birds of paradise that has moved in such a different way that I've never seen before. And next to it is Sally Holmes, which is bursting, just bursting. I recommend that rose. Easy to care for.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the information. And Barbara, would you send me the names of the plants you talked about in an email so I can put them in the minutes?
Okay, I'll be happy to.
I would like that because the folks might be wanting to check them out for themselves because we
Yes.
have that kind of climate here too somewhat.
Yes, it would be it's just a beautiful plant.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much for your presentation. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Martha, we have some chats coming in. Is there any way we can make copies of that later? I don't want to look at, I'm seeing some of them, but I can't answer them. Is that possible or am I asking too much?
I don't know if you're getting personal notes in the chat, but the general ones are I mean, yes, I can make a copy, but they really are not questions. You know,
Right.
People are commenting that they've seen Barbara's plant at Trader Joe's, for
Right.
example.
Okay.
But sure, I can make a copy.
Well, if it's something that's plausible and not a lot of work, I don't want to miss something, but I'm afraid with my hands, going too fast, I could erase everything. So I don't want to click onto it right now.
It's fine.
Thank you. Okay. Oh, Barbara, thank you again. Very, very much. Very helpful. George, you're next on the agenda. And you're going to be giving us some California Garden Club's Inc.'s CGCI information.
Thank you very much, Diane. This is George Perko. And good to see all you club presidents and club members today. I just want to give you sort of an overview of what is happening with California Garden Clubs, Inc. and some encouragement in terms of, I know some of the clubs are still having trouble getting meeting venues and so forth. Well, things are starting to come back alive. CGCI is able to have an in-person convention in June 6th to 10th this year. Now the president's down in San Diego. And so it's going to be there at the Handlery Hotel, but it's going to be a lot like an old-fashioned convention. You know, they're going to have the same kind of meetings and exhibits and so forth. So they are encouraging club presidents and club members to come down there. I know it's difficult for a lot of Bay Bridges people to get there, but if you're interested in like a 2-day trip, because that's how we're going to do it, we're going to take 2 days to go down San Diego, start in Solvang, one night, and then end up the next day in San Diego. That's how I really got involved with CGCI decades ago. We would do 2-day trips, to go to these conventions and board meetings. So that's something that would get you out of the house, and get your members out seeing garden clubs in the state of California, which is part of the joy of being in CGCI. But now more specifically, in terms of what's going to happen there, they are going to, it's a long convention. It's scheduled June 6th to 10th. Some people just come in for a day or two or to see some particular, workshop or presentation. All of the events are listed on the CGCI website under the calendar. You can see a registration form for sign up and so forth. And the due date is May 10th in terms of sign up without a late fee. Now, among the things that you might be interested in coming to our area, they are going to have a workshop on Tuesday, June 7th, where it's called Leading Your Club to Success, where they're going to provide mainly for club presidents and treasurers. They're going to provide information on the treasurer's duties, GTEP, the group tax exemption program, insurance, parliamentary procedures, leadership and membership for club leaders and district directors. So this is to help keep the continuity of information flowing within your clubs. So it's down there, San Diego, far away, but we hope that there's going to be a good response from clubs down in that area. And in September, the fall board meeting would be in Sacramento. So that might be more feasible for some of our local clubs. But I just thought I'd bring that out as one of the highlights of this. And they'll have tours. One of the days they will have tours of the President's Project, which is the river park at Mission San Diego, okay, along the San Diego River. So that's what the main project is there right now. I would make one other point. Club presidents, please watch when emails come to you in the next few months. CGC is going to be asking you to provide your new officers, your president, your treasurer. Please watch out for those emails and respond to them. It's really important that we get the information back for who your new officers will be. I know most of you haven't set them yet, but they will be coming. So please try to keep an eye out for that. Let me ask, are there any questions?
Good, thank you. Yes.
George, I have a question.
Yes, Martha.
Martha, I wondered about the in-person convention, whether there would be any hybrid, recordings on Zoom or anything for some of the meetings. Do you know if there'll be a model for people that aren't coming by chance?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know for certain. I wasn't in all the preparatory meetings to where those details were announced, but I can check on that for you, and I'll be glad to get back to you on that question.
Yeah.
Okay, glad to do it.
I think because Zoom is so easy, we're kind of spoiled about thinking that we can get all conference and meeting content on our own computer now. So I hope some organizations are planning to have some kind of hybrid form like that. Thank you.
Well, I'll be glad to check on that and get back to you directly.
Great.
Other questions? Well, thank you very much then for your time.
George, this is Helga. I have a question.
Okay.
If
All
the
right.
officers remain the same, do you still
questions?
respond as well?
Yes.
Yes, we definitely have to hear from you, even if your officers are continuing as before. It's just, we need that reconfirmation. You have to remember, we need oftentimes to know your officers for things like the group tax exemption program, for contacting you about the liability insurance every year. Okay, those things are really important. And of course, you all need the services like the liability insurance. That's why it's so important that we hear back from you.
Thank you, George. Yes.
Okay.
I super support that because it's so very important that we hear back. Thank you. George, thank you for your presentation.
Well, thank you very much.
Appreciate it. If we have permission from the group, we were going to change the order of the agenda. Usually we have the club presidents give their 2 or 3 minutes or more information on what they've been doing. But the request has come in to have the presentation by Terry Smith at this time, followed by the club presidents. or reports. Do I have consensus from the from the group to make that change? You can either say yes or
Yes.
wave or something. Is there any no's? Oh, good. That's a way to ask. Okay, then at this time, Helga Malman will introduce the program, and her name is Terry Smith. Thank you, Helga. Good. You're on.
Okay. I've known Terry Smith for about 6 years now because I've been associated with Pollinator Posse, and Terry, blurb about her. You all know about STEM. Well, Terry is a STEAM education specialist. That's science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. She does curriculum with a passion for teaching history. As I said, she's the co-founder of Pollinator Posse. Others data speaks publicly and visits classrooms to spread the word about the importance and the status of pollinators and how to support them. If you ever go to her house, go to her garden, because her garden is designed full whole presentations. And as an artist, she creates striking scale models of butterflies in silk, which are absolutely outstandingly beautiful. So I'd like to turn it over to Terry, and please remember, pollinators are what provide food for all of us and beautiful flowers. Thank you.
Before you start, Terry, before you start, Helga, you were breaking up on my computer. Did other people have issues? And if so, Terry, would you repeat some of what she said? Maybe we won't breaking up with you.
Yeah, sure. No problem. Let me share my screen and we'll get started. There we go. So, right, as Helga mentioned, I'm the co-founder of the Pollinator Posse with Tora Rocha, who I know a lot of you know. I'm also president of Community for Lake Merritt, which is the support group for the Rotary Nature Center and the Wildlife Refuge at Lake Merritt. And we are in the process of getting the Rotary Nature Center back open. It's been closed for a while. I'm a STEAM education specialist, a teacher, a naturalist, an artist. I work in watercolor and textiles, and also a gardener. So I'm here with my people. And Helga mentioned the silk butterflies. That's what behind me in this picture here. So the posse, I see a lot of familiar faces, so I'm sorry this is going to be a repeat for some of you. The posse is focused on outreach and education, habitat creation, community science, and we collaborate and coordinate with a number of national organizations. We are a partner with Monarch Joint Venture. We work with National Wildlife, Xerxes, Western Monarch Advocates. And we are, I'm learning as I work with these national organizations, we are a local grassroots volunteer organization, pretty much fleet of foot and going where we want to go, and not so beholden to donators because we have no staff. So we can move pretty quickly, which is interesting, but it means Tora and I wear a lot of different hats. I did want to share, we're very proud. We were featured in a front page article on the Washington Post this week or last week for Earth Day. Unfortunately, right under the headline for Marjorie Taylor Greene's memory lapse about January. But anyway, we worked with a reporter for a year and we're delighted to be featured in this article. I actually got an email from a congressman this week, which is a whole new level of contact. So anyway, I'm going to go through things pretty quickly today because we have a short time. I know you have a busy meeting, but anything I talk about you can find on our webpage, primarily on this resources page. Lots of videos, podcasts, reference materials, all that kind of thing. Website's a little kludgy. It's in the process of being redesigned, but the content is good if you're looking for anything. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. This contact form on here just sends an email directly to me. So we also have a very active Facebook group, about 1,600 members last I checked. We're on Instagram, and we also have an email list you can sign up for on that same contact list. So why focus on pollinators? Well, Tora and I, going back when we think about this, have always been plant people. And as was mentioned, we don't have plants without pollinators. They're essential. So they need the pollinators to reproduce. And we focus in on certain ones, but there's a broad range, and I'll just summarize some today. Honeybees, I know we got some honeybee keepers in the group. In truth, we don't focus too much on the honeybees because they have the beekeepers to speak for them. They're really a domesticated creature, and they certainly have their issues. But we're tending to speak more for the ones who don't have a voice. Just to let you know, this shows the honeybee losses on an annual basis. The red bar is the percentage lost every year. And it's hovering around 40–50%. I know my husband is also a beekeeper, and he generally loses about half of his hives every year, but that does seem to be kind of holding steady at this point. What we do focus on much more are the native bees. I'm always, when we go out and talk to people, surprised how no one knows anything about this, including people in the landscape world. There are over 1,600 species just in California, 4,000 in the US. All the things we think about for bees, they don't sting, they don't make hives, and they don't make honey. So they're usually single mothers looking for a place to nest, a place to lay their eggs. They need bare ground or holes in wood or old stems or things to do that. They're working very hard and alone, but they are excellent pollinators. They're actually better than honeybees in many ways because they're not working to support a hive with some of the pollen. They come in a wide variety. This is just kind of the scale that we can see. This isn't actually the smallest one. And then we have that large Carpenter Bee on the right. And there are some things we absolutely need them for. They're the only thing that pollinates squash. Honeybees won't do it. It's the pollen doesn't appeal to them. And bumblebees are the ones who pollinate tomatoes. They actually, the tomato has a certain frequency that it'll release the pollen, and the bee goes up and you hear it buzz and reach up to that frequency, and the pollen releases, and that's what happens. So we have them either digging in the ground, if you think of these little bees having to dig in the ground, or these, the ones who cavity nest in dead wood and old stems. All those things as gardeners, when we're being neat, we clean up and cover with mulch and really make their lives harder. So some of this is about changing our perception as gardeners. These little leafcutter bees, what she's doing is she cuts these little holes in the leaves, which you've probably seen in your plants. She cuts these round pieces and she's taking them back, and she wraps up an egg and some food in that and leaves this little bundle for the next generation. Well, as gardeners, we can think of that as damage, or we can think of it as baby blankets. To support this poor little single mom, we need to change our perception of how we think about it. So what if we have round holes in our leaves? And this is what's happening. She's actually wrapping up her babies in these pieces of leaves. Now she uses leaves. There are also bees who use resin from trees, and the mason bees actually use mud. So leaving some space for them to get some clayey mud to use for their babies is really essential as well. And they're going missing in action. If you see this map, the bright yellow is the areas where we're losing them. You'll notice it corresponds to where we do heavy agriculture. Pesticide use, removing their space, tilling the ground, cleaning up everything, eliminates any habitat they have. So if you've been to Lake Merritt, you've seen the bee hotel that Tora put in there. These are some other models of bee hotels. We actually have learned about this bee hotel that it's not ideal to do a big one like this because you actually just concentrate the bees in one place so the predators can have quite a buffet. So little ones scattered around your garden are great. There is a movie right now that I can't recommend highly enough on PBS called My Garden of 1,000 Bees. It's one of David Attenborough's cinematographers, was stuck in his backyard for the 2 years of COVID, and he invented ways to film. He's a character, the bees are characters. It's just an incredible video experience. So I highly recommend it. It's 1 hour and you will be inspired. Also, we're talking a lot about something nobody seems to be talking about, are surface flies or hoverflies. There's over 300 species in California. You would mistake them for bees. They have a single wing rather than a double wing. That's the way you would tell, and you can see them hovering around the flowers. They feed on aphids, scale mites, and ants. The larvae do, and then the adults are excellent pollinators. They're second only to bees. Providing flowers like Phacelia and Alyssum, which they love, will bring these guys in, and then they'll take care of your aphids. Their babies will take care of the aphids, and it's all a good thing. 400 aphids, one larva. Everybody wants to talk about the butterflies, and in particularly the monarchs, and I'll go into a little more detail about that. But they're also good pollinators and, of course, lovely. Monarchs are our poster child. I laugh when I found this cartoon. Sure, you gather with your friends and it's breathtaking, but locusts get together and everyone like it's a plague. Monarchs, I joke, have the best PR. They're not a bad model for butterflies in general because they're doing about middling compared to all the butterflies in California. Half are doing better and half are doing worse. And to understand butterflies, you need to remember the insect life cycle, which you have an adult who lays eggs. The eggs grow into a larva, which we're talking about caterpillars, and we're talking about butterflies. That then makes a pupa, which is our chrysalis, and then we have the adult emerging. And caterpillars of butterflies and moths are the world's original picky eaters. For each species, there's only one food that caterpillar can eat. We call it the host plant, and it's different for each species. Now, we know about milkweed, probably for monarchs, but if you want this beautiful red admiral flying around, we have to leave some pellitory. This is a weed I'm sure you're familiar with that grows in the cornel. They also will live on nettle, but that's a little harder to leave in your garden. This comes up near foundations and things. And it's a relatively well-behaved weed. And I used to pull it all out. And now I leave a patch in one corner where it's determined to grow anyway. And I now have a male red admiral who's guarding that patch. So it's a really fun addition to the garden. Pipevine swallowtails, we have a big project going in Oakland where we're trying to bring these back. They used to live here. There's a similar project going on in San Francisco. The plant, their host plant, is this pipevine, this native vine. It's a well-behaved vine. It takes a little while to get established, but it grew in the creek beds and the wild places, and it's either been eradicated or those areas have been taken over by things like ivy, and it's no longer there. So it's our intent to bring this back into the Oakland and further south where it once lived. And we've had success. I actually have caterpillars downstairs right now. So our 4th year of my garden near Lake Merritt having them. And we're also mapping, we're working with Insect Science Museum to kind of track where the plants are planted so we can get this established population back. So going back to that insect life cycle, and I'm going to talk more directly about monarchs in particular right now. We have this tiny egg that's laid by the butterfly on the host plant, so the caterpillar will be able to eat. The caterpillar does nothing but eat. It grows 2,000 times its size in 1 month, sometimes less. So if you think about that, that's a 10-pound baby growing to a 20,000-pound baby in a month, size of a bus. The host plant for monarchs is milkweed, and it gets that name from this milky latex sap, which actually has a toxin in it, which the plant tried to protect itself from the monarchs. It created this sap. The monarchs adapted to the sap. That's how evolution works, particularly with insects. And so they've adapted. However, the sap does still take out a good number of caterpillars at the beginning. The monarchs absorb that toxin and it makes them toxic to some creatures. It's not a full protection. And here we see this, my second grade students love this, the barfing blue jay. I'm sure some of you remember the Time Life series back in the 60s, which was so amazing to us then. This is a picture, a series done on a blue jay who decides to eat a monarch and then regrets it later. There is a lot of discussion about kinds of milkweed, the native versus the non-native. And I'll give a quick explanation of why this is an issue. It's still being debated. There are regularly, scientists coming in on either side, but I will give you the consensus that we know based on the research right now. This is not the main problem for monarchs and other creatures. There are much bigger problems like climate change and habitat loss, but it is definitely something as gardeners we should be aware of. So the native milkweeds that we would find in this area are the narrow leaf, that's the easiest to grow, the showy or speciosa, the Californica, which is rare, but we're working to get it more available because it comes up earlier in the spring and that's becoming an issue. And then the cordifolia, which is the heartleaf. The non-natives are the tropical and the balloon plant, which also has some other interesting names like family jewels and hairy balls. If you see red or yellow flowers, you have a non-native. That's one way to tell. And then the balloon plant has white flowers like the natives. They're drooping. It's a bigger plant. And the sure thing is it gets these giant round seed pods. So either of those, if you see them, are non-native. Here's the issue. The natives are native. So depending on how you feel about natives versus non-native, they are the native species. And what they do, they go dormant in the winter. And so any disease, and there's a disease that monarchs get called OE, it passes on the plant. And so once a plant gets the spores on it, any caterpillar who eats that plant is going to be infected. So when it clears out in the winter, that gives it a fresh start. It's also growing in the winter when the monarch should not be breeding, and it encourages them to do that. So that's another downside. It's starting to be an issue that we don't have this food source early when the monarchs are coming out because of climate change. They're coming out earlier in the spring. And so that's why we're having this project to get the Californica available. So there is this kind of time in the spring where this might be useful. But in general, the tropical ones might be useful as opposed to the natives. But the stronger, in general, the research shows it's healthier for them, the native. So basically you can't go wrong planting pesticide-free native milkweed. And actually we right now have seeds available in many of the Oakland libraries for free. You can pick them up. That's a program we've been working on to get the seed out there and get this plant planted. The non-natives, depending on how you feel about natives, they're non-native. They're active all year. They don't have a dormant season. So we get this disease and things accumulate. But there is this plus that they can be available in the early spring. So we're looking at that. They're not as good for the monarchs. They're not as strong. Even when we cut them back frequently, there's more disease in the population. So they're just not healthy. And they can be invasive. They spread pretty easily. And they've the ones, in many cases, they've been available in big box stores or nurseries, and they've been treated with pesticides. So you're putting out a plant to bring in the monarchs, and it's toxic. If you have non-native milkweed, our primary recommendation is to replace it with the native if you can. But if not, you need to cut it back frequently to try to cut down on the negative effects. So we have our Monarch caterpillar. It's done nothing but eat for a month. It's all nice and chubby and ready to go. It hangs in this J shape, and it's actually forming, it's liquefying and forming its pupa inside its skin. So miraculous, amazing. And this is what it's hanging from. It makes this silk button on a leaf or a stem or something. And it has this cremaster on its tail end, and it hangs with this. So here we have the original Velcro. After a couple of days, that skin splits off and it comes out, and we have the chrysalis. And the chrysalis is actually transparent. So what you're seeing in there is basically bug blood, which is green in color. And it's liquefied, except for some very small parts, although it does keep some memory, who knows how. A couple of days before it comes out, you see the chrysalis forming the color on the wings, and then it emerges. So just the monarch chrysalis is pretty distinctive, but I want to point out some of the other chrysalis you might have in your garden. We're big proponents at the Posse of messy gardening. Because if you're doing a lot of pruning and you see these things hanging, if you even notice them, they're just going to look like dead leaves, and you're going to cut them off and toss them away. And we're going to destroy the life cycle of this creature. So the butterfly comes out of the chrysalis. It's called eclosing, not hatching. I always have to get that vocabulary right as a teacher. Takes about an hour. It pumps up its wings, and they harden, and it's ready to go. So butterflies, a completely different creature. We've got chewing caterpillars, and a butterfly drinks nectar. It has this long proboscis that goes down into the flower and gets the nectar. It actually tastes with its feet, so it knows what it's getting. There's a big focus on the milkweed and the host plants, but we need the nectar plants for all the pollinators, butterflies, bees, flies. All these guys need nectar. So that's actually almost more critical in your garden, to have year-round nectar for them. We promote that. We have a list of plants on our site that you can go to that we think are really good sources. My two favorites are this Mexican marigold and the Cape mallow. Bloom, all year round. So a few places like that in the garden where you're going to have nectar in those harder seasons. So monarchs are most famous because of their migration. And it was discovered, quote unquote, by American scientists in 1974, less than 50 years ago, kind of hard to believe. But of course, the native populations knew about it before then. So the eastern population migrates to Mexico. People are often mistaken and think our California monarchs migrate to Mexico. They don't. The Rockies is a divider. And so the issue is they go to a place in the winter where they're in a dormant state called diapause, and they're hanging in the trees, and it's this Goldilocks situation where it's not too hot and not too cold. They don't freeze, but it's cool enough. It's like being in the refrigerator, and they don't have to eat or breed. And then in the spring, they come forward into Texas. They lay eggs. That generation moves further north, lays eggs. Next generation moves further north. They follow the spring all the way up to the Canadian border. And then the very last generation, because it gets cues on daylight and temperature, flies all the way back to Mexico, lasts all winter, and then comes out again in the spring. Pretty amazing. So that population has fluctuated, but and it's measured in acreage in Mexico. So in the winter months, this 2021, we don't have last year's figures yet because of COVID. They were down to 5.2 acres, which 5.2 acres is a lot of butterflies, but it's a lot of butterflies in one place, which is a little bit frightening in just 5 acres. The Western population, on the other hand, rather than going to Mexico, although there is a little bit of exchange down in Arizona, comes to the California coast. Who wouldn't? Again, the ocean keeps it temperate. It's not too hot. It's not too cold. They're not going to freeze, but they're in kind of a refrigerated stage. They hang in the trees. And then in the spring, usually March-ish right now, It's getting earlier with climate change. They fly inland and north, generation, 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 and then in the fall, they fly back, which means in the Bay Area, we typically see maybe in the spring as they're flying out, and then we see them in the fall, more in the fall when they're coming back. We usually get that last generation here in the fall. That population, they actually go out and count. Volunteers go out and count the actual butterflies. It's a very elaborate protocol. And they've been doing that since 1997. At that point, there were 1.2 million butterflies, but the count started because prior to that, there were somewhere in the range of 8 to 9 million butterflies. So we were already down to 10% at that point. And so the green bars show the population over time. The blue bars show the sites. There are as many as 300 sites along the California coast where they will overwinter. And so you can see for quite some time, the population hovered around 200,000 butterflies. And then in 2018, we had this crash down to 30,000, which was very concerning because that had been predicted as the tipping point for the population. It held steady in 2019, and then along came 2020, our favorite year. So in the midst of 2020, Fish and Wildlife looked at them. They were up for endangered status. They had been for a couple of years. And basically what was said was, yes, they should be protected, but we don't have time. We have 160 species ahead of them in line. So that didn't happen. We began gathering data on the monarchs in California that year. There were a lot of, in addition to the drop in population, there were all sorts of things going on. We were seeing them in the summertime. We didn't used to see them in the summertime. We were hearing breeding. So we started gathering data because there was very little data on this Western population. Okay, why am I not going forward here? There we go. Then 2020 came along and we got the count at Thanksgiving and we were down to 2,000 individuals at the coast, which was devastating. Rooms of scientists burst into tears when these numbers came out. The feeling was that the Western migration was over. Devastating news. But we were also seeing some changes in behavior. There were actually more than 2,000 butterflies. A lot of them were in the Bay Area breeding during the winter. We had a particularly mild winter. They were able to get away with that to some degree. It wasn't terribly successful, but there were more than the 2,000 butterflies. And that's part of what we've been documenting for these scientific organizations and conservation groups. And then this year, you may have seen the headlines, they're back to 250,000. I mean, the chief scientist of monarchs in the US said this was impossible. He can't figure out a way this worked. And we think it has to do with those monarchs we were seeing breeding here in the Bay Area in the winter. But anyway, they're back. This is not a solution, but it gives us time. It gives us time to do. And I think this was a very smart move by the monarchs. I don't want to anthropomorphize them too much, but basically, they came down, tried to get people's attention. That didn't work. They totally crashed. I will say a lot of money is starting to pour into conservation, a lot more attention. National organizations are paying attention to the West. They were successful in that. And then they bounced back to show us we don't have any idea what's going on. So I was lucky enough this winter to be in Pacific Grove. In 2020, there were 0 monarchs in Pacific Grove, the butterfly capital of California. But in 2021, there were 14,000. And here I am with that Washington Post photojournalist. I got to stand under those trees with her, take my own pictures next to her, and experience the return of the monarchs. So what's going on? Some combination, climate change is having a huge effect. California is warming faster than the rest of the country, if you didn't know that. We're getting these warm spells in January and February, which are affecting the monarchs. They come out of diapause and head inland when there isn't any milkweed yet up. And we're seeing this winter breeding. There's also a lot of toxins in the environment. Milkweed all over California was recently sampled by the Xerces Society, and not a single plant, even from the Xerces employee who had an organic backyard, was found to have fewer than 2 toxins in it. And that's just the ones they were testing for. And we're also extremely concerned about the systemic pesticides that are often applied at the wholesale level. The nursery doesn't even know the plants they're selling have been treated, and they're basically toxic for their lifetime. So rather than planting a helpful plant, you're planting a poison in your garden. There's a lot of work being done on this. We hope to get these banned. They've been banned in Europe for a long time, but this is an area of huge concern. We've also got the prevalence of non-native milkweed, which is affecting them. And there's also an issue with people rearing caterpillars in captivity, thinking they're helping, when in fact those caterpillars then aren't getting the cues they need to behave appropriately at different times of year. So this is actually illegal in California. It's illegal now to even touch a caterpillar, move a caterpillar, do any of that. And for good reason. We need them to figure out what's going on. So as I mentioned, we're spearheading these data gathering, these community science efforts. We have a monthly survey on our website. If you're out in your garden and you're watching what's going on and you wouldn't mind reporting monthly, we would love to have your data. Once you sign up, I send you an email once a month to remind you. It takes 5 or 10 minutes to tell us what you've seen. We'd really appreciate that. If you are willing to spend more time, or you work in a public garden, or you know people in gardens, there's a Monarch larval monitoring project, which we're recruiting for and training people. I'm actually doing a training next week up at the Botanical Garden in Berkeley, the UC Bot Garden, on using this system that goes into a national database. It's a weekly observation of milkweed plants. So if you or you know people who would be good for that, willing to do that, we really need that data. And you can sign up on our website. It takes me about an hour to train you. We've got videos and things. And it's actually kind of nice. I go out and do this in my garden weekly, and I kind of get a sense of everything that's happening. It doesn't take very long. Overall, we're really concerned about insect declines in general, not just pollinators. But this is not where we want to end up. Places in the world where the pollinators are gone and people are having to hand pollinate fruit trees. First of all, I can't imagine we'd find the people to do this. And second of all, humans aren't very good at it. The bees and butterflies do a much better job. We're messing with the foundation of the food web. And by losing these insects, and we're already seeing the effects of this in the decline of birds, and it's going to work its way up the food web. And it's time to shift our thinking, shift the paradigm. We don't dress like this anymore, but we garden like this. And this goes back to the 18th century. We will conquer all. We will conquer the world. We will conquer nature. Well, it's not working. And we need to think of ourselves as stewards, not conquerors, if we're going to work things out here on Earth. So this is how we landscape, typically, to pollinators and other insects. This is what it looks like. There's nothing there for them. And in fact, because of the chemicals that are often used, it's actually a minefield. Tora, when she worked at the gardens, was struck by the fact that, first of all, Lake Merritt is the oldest wildlife refuge in the country. We're not landscaping it for wildlife, at least not the natural kind. But we found that signage is very effective in educating people. People want to do the right thing. Before these signs went up, Tora got a lot of complaints about how she was managing those gardens. And once the signs went up, those same people thanked her. And we really want to argue that pollinator friendly is beautiful. Sometimes it gets a bad rap. So just to give you some examples, this is my own garden when we bought our house. That's lawn, not even a good lawn, and eucalyptus trees. This is what it looks like now. It's a fruit orchard underplanted with pollinator plants. Less work, less water, and we get less work to maintain, and we get all the wonders of the bees and butterflies and the fruit. Another section of that garden, what it looks like now. And here again, that good old lawn now looks like this. So we can get there, and it's not a sacrifice. A diverse habitat garden, we encourage height, water, nooks and crannies, places for those native bees, and the various other creatures we want to live in the garden. We focus on natives. We generally recommend at least 70%, but we're not committed to that. We're a little more flexible because there are some non-native plants that are terrific pollinator plants. On our website, you'll find this list that Tora did, pollinator plants, which for garden designers is great because it shows by month and color the bloom. So you can download this. It's about 4 pages and it's really great. If you want a slightly simpler approach, we have kind of our 10 favorite plants. There's a little slideshow. This is the first slide showing Tithonia, Mexican sunflower, which is Monarch's absolute favorite nectar plant, and many other creatures love it as well. But you can pull that down. It's a PDF and see the ones that we've seen to be most effective. Calscape, can't recommend Calscape enough. All those little numbers around these are the number of pollinators and insects that plant supports. And they also have this great butterfly section up here where you can, if you're looking for certain things, you can see what their host plant is and bring them in. So the posse are focused, as I said, it's outreach and education. We're happy to do talks like this all the time. I think I talked to 2,000 people last year. And between Tora and I, we support habitat creation. That's more Tora's department. She's got tons of experience in that area. I do the community science, as I said. And then the collaboration and coordination with all these other organizations. We've gotten grants from Monarch Joint Venture to do educational projects with the resource conservation districts. So a lot of this is partnering with other organizations. And with that, I'm going to stop my share. Oops, I want a new share. Stop share and see if there are any questions. So a lot of what I covered today, we have more extensive versions on the website, podcasts, a lesson for children on pollination, all that stuff is available on the website to share.
Any questions, folks?
I see in the chat that Patricia asked, why do we want the monarch to migrate in fall and winter? And you kind of touched on some changes about that, but
yeah, there's a couple of reasons. The main reason they migrate is, well, first to disperse over more territory, so they're going to get more resources, but it's also to escape disease and predators. If they stay in one spot resident, then the disease and predator population builds way up. And we're seeing that happening in California when they're resident in the winter in particular. The other reason is the temperatures, they're insects, and so they're completely temperature dependent. And so in the winter, their life cycle takes much longer. We had a chrysalis go 180 days last year instead of 2 weeks. They're very vulnerable during that time. Way more disease. They're using their resources at a time that it's just not advantageous to do it. And they, they live in a very narrow margin. So the survival rate is terrible. There's a reason they go to the coast. They protect themselves there, and then they come out when it's a good condition for them.
great. And it looks like Angie has a question. Go ahead, Angie, and mute yourself.
Okay, let's see. Sorry.
Yeah, we hear you.
There we are. Sorry. I have a question. Our park is Shin Park in Fremont, and we have some nice monarchs come through. We have seeds of Jupiter's beard, and they seem to like it. Is that a nectar plant for them?
Yeah, any of the flowering plants. I actually saw painted ladies went crazy over the Jupiter's beard the year we had that big influx of them. So yeah, It's not one we have on our long list or on our short list
It's
of
very,
pollinator plants.
it's very invasive, but it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's over toward that weedy end of the spectrum. But yeah,
Yeah.
it does seem to be a popular nectar plant.
Okay, thank you.
But the nice thing about the nectar plants is all the pollinators use them. I mean, bees prefer certain ones and butterflies prefer certain ones.
Yeah.
But you can't go wrong planting nectar. And we're actually pushing that even harder than the host plants right now because, you know, those flies that we don't even know about, they're going to go to those nectar plants too.
Well, thank you. I just have a comment because this is all being recorded. I can share this with my club then later, can't I? This is going to be
Yeah,
sent
and I
out.
would say there are other ones recorded on our website. This is kind of an abbreviated version I did today, but I'm also happy to talk to garden clubs. They do it all the time. So
We will be calling you. Thank you.
sounds great. Happy to do it.
Yeah, Angie, I don't think we have in mind to keep this recording. So it probably this particular recording won't be available.
But it will be just to that point, not about this talk, but the recording will be used by your secretary to do the minutes. Is that correct?
That's the reason we're recording it. That's correct.
Perfect.
Oh.
Thank you.
Thanks. Other questions?
Well, just by listening today and being interested in sharing this information, you are now all members of the Pollinator Posse. That's the extent of our initiation process. So please, you know, you guys are out in gardens and dealing with other gardeners. Please spread the word. We're happy to go where we're called. We're getting a little busy now, so we're also looking for volunteers. You can volunteer to come to some of our outreach on events and help out. It's really fun making bee houses with kids at an event. And sign up for our email list and you'll get those updates.
Very good. Martha, are there any more questions in the chat?
I don't see other questions. That I see some compliments. That was fantastic, Terry.
Well, great. Enjoy
Terry.
the rest of your meeting.
Thank you, Terry, for your help.
I have a question. This is Helga. The other plants.
The what? I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
You froze.
Yeah. Helga, can you ask again?
Where can we buy the pipeline plants?
The pipeline plants, that's a good question. Native nurseries are carrying them. I know Pete Fallu at East Bay Wilds has them, and he's learned the secret is fish emulsion. So we love him for figuring that out. But any of the native nurseries will have it. I do a little bit of propagation from my plant, although most of my plant I keep for the caterpillars. So I usually have some plants. You can get in touch with me if you're in Oakland. But I know the botanical garden in Berkeley is selling seedlings. So just checking around to those kinds of nurseries.
Yeah, Watershed in Point Richmond has a lot of pipeline right now, or did a week or so ago.
Yeah.
Great.
Any other questions, folks?
Yes, this is Josie. Is it possible to put her information in the chat?
Oh,
yes, her website is in the chat, Josie. It's pollinatorposse.org. Is that what you meant?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to mention that I've been propagating the narrowleaf milkweed for our Berkeley Garden Club plant sale next Saturday, March 27th. I ordered the seed I ordered the seed from the Theodore Payne Foundation in January. And they propagate very easily. So come to our plant sale a week from Saturday in Berkeley and you can pick up a 6-pack.
Great, love it. Yeah, narrow leaf is easy to grow from seed. Speciosa, you really need cuttings or root cuttings, rhizomes, we think.
Any other questions, ladies and gentlemen? Terry, thank you so much for being our program.
You're very welcome. Happy to do it. Enjoy your meeting.
Thank you. Thank you very much. At this time, we're going to go to the presidents for their oral reports. And I was going, my question to you presidents, would you do a summary of your report when you're done and email it to me, and I will include it in the minutes for the meeting. That way I can enjoy your reports without writing all these notes down. That's a little selfish, but it would be very helpful. So I'm going to start with my list, and maybe some people have arrived that I don't have on the original roll call. So I'll start with Alameda. Do we have any representative from Alameda Garden Club? Okay. Then Berkeley Garden Club. Carol, would you like to give your president's report?
Sure. As I mentioned, my name is Carol Buckles. I'm actually vice president of the Berkeley Garden Club. I'm subbing in for our president, Mindy Lastman, who could not attend the meeting today. But thankfully, she gave me a list of talking points, so my cheat sheet, so I'm set. First of all, our club continues to thrive. We actually have membership growth this year. We're up to 95 members, 6 of which have joined since January. We are only meeting, our general club meetings are still only via Zoom. We had hoped to be able to go back in person, but we meet at the Albany Community Center, and they have not yet opened for events to the general public. So we've been on hold with meeting in person. Our interest groups are still going strong. They are in general now meeting in person. They're smaller groups. They tend to be in members' backyards or going to tours of public gardens, other outdoor events. So I think the need for human interaction has been satisfied somewhat through people attending the interest groups. However, I say we did not meet in person as a whole club, but we were able to sneak in a holiday party in December when it was before Omicron had broadsided us, and we had a holiday party in person, and about half our membership attended. We had box lunches and a white elephant exchange, and actually it was a lot of fun. In addition to that, our conservation committee met in, I guess it was January, and we were able to distribute $1,000 to various local organizations that we felt were worthy and promoting the goals of our club. We've also continued our Healthy Garden program in conjunction with the city of Albany. Patricia probably knows more about it. I believe there were 4 lectures that were well attended, evening Zoom lectures. And we have funding next year for, I believe it's up to 8 lectures. So that's been good community outreach and fulfills our mission of education and giving back to the community. We instituted a new garden award this year. It's kind of a work in progress. Members can nominate a a garden that they think is particularly beautiful, and we have a small group that will go and view the gardens, and the winner will get a sign saying they won the garden award, and I believe they're going to also get a free membership in the club for a year. And finally, and definitely not least, we're in the throes of our annual plant sale. As Patricia said, it's next Saturday, May 7th. And this year we tried really hard to spread the love around and get everybody who wanted to be able to contribute. And I actually yesterday compiled just some data. We have 31 members who are contributing in some way to the plant sale, some people in multiple ways. We have 14 people who are working on the logistics of organizing the sale ahead of time. We have 25 people who are propagating plants, and we have 18 people who are helping on the day of the sale. So by all accounts, I think it's going to be a great affair. We are a little bit, let's just say nerves are running high, as I think they probably would under any circumstances, but I think it's going to be a lovely day. Again, that's May 7th, and we hold it in conjunction with an art gallery in just north of downtown Berkeley. They close a street, and we have artist booths, and then we'll have our plant sale. And that, my new friends, is the report on the Berkeley Garden Club.
And Carol, what is the time on the May 7th date?
On the plant sale?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, the sales will begin at 11 and will go until 4:30.
You froze, so 11 to
4:30.
4:30. Thank you. Lovely report. Thank you for that. And if you can summarize part of it, just give the highlights and send it to me. I can give you my email in case you have it in the book.
I do believe I have it when Mindy forwarded the
Okay.
Zoom link. So I think I'm set. Thank
You're
you.
set. Okay. Thank you very much for stepping in and giving such a nice report. Thank you. Dirt Daubers, has anybody arrived from that group, Garden Club? Okay. Then Eden Garden Club, possibly? No. El Cerrito Garden Club.
Okay, thanks, Diane. I'm Martha Jackson, the president of El Cerrito, and we've had a good year. Our meetings have continued on Zoom, our general meetings and presentations. But like Berkeley, some of our interest groups or study groups have been meeting in person, and that's been wonderful, I think. A couple of study groups have continued on Zoom and feel more comfortable that way. So I just love that there can be a kind of a mixture of in-person and online to sort of support everybody. We were able, exactly like Berkeley, to slip into that little dip between last year and Omicron hitting to have an in-person holiday party as well. We had an outdoor picnic, which on December 30th might have been a little iffy, but the weather was fine. And about 30 people came. It was a bring your own lunch, but we supplied desserts, and we had a seed swap table and a white elephant table. And the seed swap was just great. We had baskets and baskets of packages of seeds, and any leftovers from there were donated to the El Cerrito Seed Library. So we were happy about that.
Oh.
A small group of club members continued our annual tradition of making holiday arrangements for all of the residents of a local nursing home. And we were glad that we were able to do that in spite of lockdowns and so forth. And I think the nursing home residents were glad to have a little holiday cheer in their room. During the pandemic, we've had several curbside plant sales, and we had one just last weekend, and found that Earth Day weekend is busy with so many activities that we didn't really have the number of customers that we might have expected, but we still had fun, sold some plants, made some friends, got one new member, and the leftover plants from that plant sale will be sold this weekend, April 30th, to benefit the El Cerrito High School garden, which is the youth project supported by our club. And that high school garden is absolutely fantastic. It's really flourishing. And now that all the students are back in school, our member who monitors and mentors that club reports that many students and parents as well are volunteering in the garden, and that many, many more students use the garden just to sit in between classes or to eat their lunch in or to study. It's really a wonderful project. New members tea. Normally our club has an annual tea party where we welcome anyone who has joined during that year, and we haven't, of course, been able to do that for the last 3 years, and so this year we had one on Zoom, which was kind of challenging, but creatively accomplished by some of our members, who sent a little package with a cookie and some tea bags and a cute invitation to all of the new members, and also the officers and committee chairs and study group chairs, to let them know that they were all invited. And then on Zoom, 7 new members from the last 3 years and about 14 old members met together and kind of shared what the club is about and what the different things are that the new members could have fun with. Our conservation group, we normally support 12 organizations with a kind of a small donation, but we decided this year to double that donation to each group because we're not paying rent for our meetings. We feel like we just have this extra money, so we were able to double our contribution, which felt good. I guess, and finally, I feel quite proud of our YouTube channel. Of course, you know, no one in the public, I'm sure, ever finds it, which is fine, but it's a place that we can archive our recorded programs. And I have found it really great to know that there was some place we could send people who missed a meeting or an interesting program. And one of our programs in the fall was about coexisting with coyotes, an amazing speaker from San Francisco, and her video is on our YouTube channel and has been viewed countless times. I mean, I think she must have advertised that we had that program up. So I would just recommend to any club that it's free for a nonprofit to have a YouTube channel, and it's very easy to set up if you want to record any of your presentations in that way. We're possibly going to have another in-person picnic in June, depending on, you know, variants and news and what's going to happen. But we're finding, you know, renting a space in a park and meeting with our own picnic lunches is a good way to get together. So thank you. I think that's it.
Thank you, Martha, very much. Thank you for all your work. Very good. Is there anyone here from Fremont Garden Club? Okay. How about Friends of Heirloom Flowers?
Okay, this is Angie Schmidt.
Hi, Angie.
I put my pruners down and I'm at actually the California Nursery Park today, another beautiful park in Fremont. And they were trying to get nonprofit and join up, but they haven't as of yet. So anyway, our club at Shin Park, over 50 going strong. We've gardened all through the pandemic, seeing it was the safest place to be. Coming up May 6th, we have a field trip to the Dry Creek Park, a part of Garin Park in Hayward, Union City. And they have at the top of the hill, they have, I think it's the East Bay Iris Society has like a demonstration garden up there. And the ranger is going to let us in, give us a little tour. And then down below in the Dry Creek Meyer Garden area is really lovely picnic grounds and something to see. We've been there years past. It is always good. And then another field trip, because we're feeling field trips are back on. We're going out to Ardenwood in Fremont and having a picnic, a tour of the house and of the gardens. We're also hosting the Eden Garden Club at Shin Park on May 31st, are coming for garden tours. The Historical Society is going to give them a tour of the house. And we are going to set up a few of our tables and chairs on the big lawn for them to have their picnic lunch. And all for the price, mostly it's the Historical Society, $5 a person. So what a nice event for them. And our park is right now beyond beautiful. Take a look at our Facebook page. I think those late winter, early spring rains made quite a difference. So anyway, we are looking forward to hopefully September that Bay Bridges, hopefully we get back to normal, whatever normal is. I'm sure all of you are. And just look forward to hearing all about, I thought today's whole program was fantastic. So much information and good sharing. So thank you all.
Thank you, Angie. Thank you for your report and your good works too. Appreciate it. Hillside Gardeners of Montclair, Sandy Yeager.
Oh, good. Well, it's now afternoon. Oh, no, it's not quite. So still good morning to everyone. Unlike the rest of you, Hillside has been meeting in person all year. I hate to tell you that, but we have had, we meet at Walking Miller Community Center, which is part of Oakland Parks and Recreation, and they have allowed us to meet there. They do have a mask requirement, and we are good about wearing our masks during the meetings. But we have met every month since September. We started the year in September with an outdoor tea. We always have a tea on the deck at Walking Miller on the last, our first September meeting. And so that was, and it was, we had like 80 people attend. It was really a lovely, lovely day. Then we have had monthly meetings ever since. We have been doing hybrid Zoom, where we meet in person and we also have Zoom at the same time so that people who are unable to come can Zoom to the meeting. We've been lucky. We've had a speaker at every meeting. So that's also been good. We had Terry Smith. We had Ronnie Braga as two of our speakers this year, but we have had a variety of speakers. We had the geranium lady from Marin County come. We have had this last week, we had Bart O'Brien, who is the director of the East Bay Botanic Garden. He came and spoke to us. So we've really had a lot. Our only problem with the hybrid Zoom, the meetings have not been a problem, but when we go to the speaker, we've been having a lot of trouble trying to figure out how to have the speaker's presentation go over Zoom and still be live to our meeting. So we have had some technological problems. We had a lovely holiday lunch in December, completely catered. And at the last minute, Oakland Parks and Recreation, I think it was the day before, told us that we couldn't have it at Walking Miller. We had to move to the Lakeside Garden Center. So we just picked up our belongings, and it was actually better for the caterer because he's right there. So we've, as I say, we've been doing things. We had our Crafters Alley in November where both our members and some outside people present. We sell a variety of items, and then we ask everybody that sells items to make a donation to the club of 10% of their sales. And we made quite a bit of money that way. For those of you who don't know, we had our garden tour this last week on Sunday. It was an outrageous success. We had 7 gardens. The gardens that they chose this year, if you did not come, oh my God, they were so diverse and so fascinating. They just did a great job on picking the gardens. We just got compliments galore from the public. We had 2 co-chairmen that worked on this garden tour, and we sold 766 tickets, which is just, a record for us. We had a whole discussion on should we limit how many tickets we sell, because we worried, what if they all show up at the same garden at the same time? Well, they didn't. It all worked out beautifully. And we made our preliminary estimate of money. We've made over $23,000 on one day. So, that's just, it's like a 30% increase over the last sale, the last garden tour we had, which of course was 3 years ago. We couldn't have it last year. And I'm going to be continuing as president. We have had our elections and we have new people coming on board, but we only have 2 new officers this upcoming year. And we are very excited about what's going on and looking forward to our next year. And as I say, I'm really happy because even though I'll be in my 2nd year next year, I don't have to do another garden tour. That won't happen until the new president comes along. So that's great for us. So anyway, we had a good year.
Thank you, Sandy. Congratulations on a great garden tour. I was there too. It was lovely. A lot of good work. Okay, let's go to Pinole Garden Club, please.
Hi there.
Hi
Boy,
there.
Sandy's a hard act to follow. So we are Pinole Garden Club. We currently have 61 members, and I'm told that there are 2 more applications in the mailbox as we speak. We have been a club celebrating our 66th year. We just had our anniversary lunch in April. We honored past presidents, which had a great turnout. It was a lot of fun. We have memorabilia all the way back to 1956 that we could put on display.
Wow.
That's always fun to see when our members were known by their husbands' names.
Right.
And our own names were not published at that time. We're lucky to meet at Pinole Valley Community Church. It's a beautiful big venue inside and outside, and we've always met in person. COVID has never slowed us down. We've always been meeting in person and continuing all of our programs. We also have our annual plant sale fundraiser and membership drive coming up May 7th. I wanted to mention to Carol, who from Berkeley Club, that also has her sale on that day, that it's also Naked Gardening Day. That's a real thing. So it's sort of fun to have your sale on Naked Gardening Day. It may rain. We have a 90% chance of rain, so we're hoping that doesn't happen. Let's see. We also are accepting credit and debit cards for the first time ever for the sale, and we've done that for our membership also. So we're hoping that it increases our revenue for that day. Our front yard landscape contest has been revamped. thanks to the guidance of Martha Jackson and El Cerrito Garden Club. We've made our contest sort of modeled after theirs, made it a lot more simpler. And we're going to be driving around this Saturday to evaluate yards, and the winner will receive a cash award, a yard sign, a certificate, and a 1-year membership to our club. Last week, we were able to go out to kindergartners and present our skit, A Tree Grows in Pinole. It's a lot of fun. We dress up as acorns and oak trees. We give out books, acorns, oak trees, and the kids get to ask us a lot of questions about conservation. That's a great time. We also visited a local school garden this year to visit their green team and just to mentor and sort of give them advice. And that might expand into a bigger program, we're hoping. We promote our club by wearing t-shirts, aprons. When we're working out in the community, we get honks of appreciation as people drive by. We keep our Facebook page updated, local next door, visit Pinole, city websites. We have our membership applications and brochures online and at the local library. And we're lucky enough to have 2 graphic designers in our club. It's like unheard of. Our old brochure was a trifold on construction paper. And now we have this flashy, beautiful brochure. So we've definitely updated everything. And I think it appeals to younger members too. So we'll see the results of that. We are getting ready to award our $1,000 scholarship soon. We do have a winner. And we have been making paper flowers at all of our meetings. I have a basket. They're ready to go. You just pick them up and kind of do it as you're listening to the meeting. And we supplement our flowers for our garden therapy program with those. So they can, it's really nice. They're paper, they're lightweight, they're not going to get knocked over, no damage. It's fun for the members to do. We also still maintain the welcome wall, the historic Furia Rose Garden, which is doing beautiful this year. Big, beautiful blooms like we haven't seen probably in about 4 or 5 years. We maintain our free seed library at the Pinole Library. We're also going on tours soon. We have 2 tours scheduled, one to the, can't think of it. It's, I can't think of the name. It's in San Francisco. It's a rooftop garden, and to a member's house. And it's been a long time since we've been able to do all of these things. So we're so excited to busy, but so excited. And just wanted to say too that it's a wonderful meeting today. I'm really enjoying it.
Thank you.
And thank you to everyone.
Thank you, Sheila. Wonderful garden club. As all of you folks are working so hard, it's just wonderful to hear. Thank you. San Leandro Garden Club, Carla. Where are you?
Okay, I'm right here. It's just unmuting.
Okay.
Our garden club has been meeting in person since September, except January when there was that spike. So we just had a pause and didn't meet that month. We've had some interesting speakers. Our most recent one was on how to attract birds. And much of the information he provided is overlapped with our pollinator talk that we just had, you know, and but one of the things he stressed was native plants. That should be the major portion of our landscapes if we want to attract birds. Last November, we participated, the Altamira had their holiday bazaar. We participated in that and made a little over $600, which it's down, but I think that's due to they had fewer people coming than normal. We awarded a Penny Pines to one of our longtime members for her, you know, lifetime achievement. She joined in 65 or something like that. So yay. That was really nice. We are planning a yard sale in July. Currently is the projected date, and hopefully that will be another moneymaker for us, because we haven't been able to have our salad luncheon that we normally have, obviously, because of COVID. So that's about what we've been up to.
Thank you, Carla. Busy, busy. Thank you very much. And then being treasurer too. Thank you. San Francisco Begonia Society, Helga, are you there?
Hi, everybody.
Hi, hi.
She's frozen.
Uh-oh. Go again, Helga.
We currently have 50 next year. Thank God, everybody. We're currently going to participate in a multi-society 19th at the San Francisco County Fair Building in Golden Gate Park. We are currently planting begonias over at the gardens at Lake Merritt. In the Virea house, we've planted about 30 of them. And in the palmatum, we've planted 300 tuberous through probably September. So come look at that. What else? Basically, we've had Zoom meetings up until February. We started hybrid meetings and out. A lot of people still want to do the Zoom meetings, but we've had about 20 to 25 people show up at our hybrid meetings in person meetings over at the county building in San Francisco. But Lake Merritt on next Saturday on the 30th from 11:15 to about noon. If anyone wants to come do that, you're welcome to join us. We'll be starting in the Virea house and getting a tour of the whole gardens by Carol Levinson, who's the president of the Oakland East Bay Garden Center, Inc. and Friends of the Gardens of Lake Merritt. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Helga. Good job. I would like to remind everybody or ask everybody to prepare a summary for me, because sometimes we were cutting out, we might miss an important date or event. Doesn't have to be long, but I would sure appreciate it, and email it to me, and I will include the next item on the agenda is, and it's about the California Garden Club's Inc. CGCI yearbook. I'm sorry, shall I continue? I'm hearing something and I'm not sure if I'm speaking over anybody. Guess not.
Well, no, Diane, you're just freezing more frequently.
Another reason where it's good to have the summaries, because of the fact that it might affect the recording. Am I coming through now? Is it still is breaking up? Well, oh dear, now what do I do? Martha, are you able to talk and not freeze up?
Well, I think you should go ahead and we'll try to catch the gist of what you're saying.
It's only a couple of things.
Yeah, go ahead.
One is a reminder.
Oh.
Information form that presidents need to fill out and return by June 1st. And I believe it's online, and you can ask me any questions, but it's important to give you, so you'll be in the CGCI roster. Anyway, so I will write that down when I get the minutes out to you too, to remind you. Our next meeting is September 22nd, a Thursday. And we hope to meet in person, depending on COVID-19 restrictions. I had put down Altamira Club, but there are some costs involved and I don't feel comfortable going ahead without sharing that information with the presidents and the officers. So I will be looking for some other, some additional venues to get a comparison. Are there any announcements from the presidents and staff, officers? Any questions? If not, we can adjourn, and I want to thank you all for being here, for being so gracious, for being so informative. What a hardworking group of people. If we all work to help with the pollinators, we could make a big imprint on all the critters that need our plants to do their job. Thank you, Martha, again, for making it all possible. For all you presidents for your hard work, for George and his hard work, Helga and everybody. I'm forgetting some, but all the officers, I appreciate. You're a nice bunch of people to work for and work with. Thank you. Have a good weekend. And I guess we can say goodbye by however we want to. But it's a nice way to, I just love to see you all. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Diane.
Kudos to you.
Thank you, Diane. Great meeting.
Thank you, George. Thank you. Love you guys. You're just super.
So interesting to hear all the reports. So Diane, it'll take a few hours probably to get that recording together, and then I'll get it to you in some form.
That would be great. I'm going to take a little break from Bay Bridges for now and get down to writing some bills before they come and get me.
Good.
And so you have time.
Okay, very good.
Thank you, dear.
All right, talk to you later.
Talk to you later. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye, Nancy, everybody, Emmy, goodbye.